You know, we talk about the deep state, we talk about the globalists.
Inflation versus deflation. Well, I mean,
You're at Mar-a-Lago.
I'm baffled that this isn't front page news.
Do you guys support a specific political party, or do you dislike both of them?
Oh, it worked like a charm on you guys.
Let's go, Brandon.
How are we doing? How are we doing? A lot of crazy stuff to talk about today. If the feed looks a little bit nicer than usual, let me know, because there might be a chance that there's a reason for that. But with that said, they came out today. The White House just randomly, without any warning, comes out and says, okay, we'll admit it. COVID was a lab leak. And we're like, oh, really? Oh my God. Thank you for letting us know. We've been wondering this whole time. And what else? Carmelo Anthony's mother comes out like crying on TV saying that her kid's a victim and everything. And then very weird situation. This minister, what's his name? Dominique Alexander. So this guy, here's who this guy is. He beat the hell out of a 2-year-old in 2009. He headbutted a girl he was dating in 2017. He's been to jail for things like I believe perjury and forgery. No, not perjury, forgery, and a few other things. So this guy is coming out saying how disrespectful Austin Metcalf's father is for showing up to the press conference where the family was speaking at. His father's escorted by the police, and then Metcalf's father's house gets swatted last night. So again, like I said the other day, really think that this is some type of race baiting situation where they're trying to start a race war. Can't help but feel that way, but we'll get into that. U.S. claims America can manipulate time and space. This came out a few days ago, and we just have to talk about it because I've been saying for a long time, like on an absolute island, by the way, I think it's entirely possible that Trump, yes, Trump, might have had access to the ability to see into the future before most people. I'll tell you why. I know it sounds crazy. Go ahead, jump off if you think that's a crazy take, but very sound reasoning for that. So we'll get into that. New nickname for the Democrat Party is Dems13 because this psycho, this Congress guy, he's just hanging out in El Salvador right now, just talking to people, you know, having lunch, having dinner with MS-13 members and dancing with them. I think it might have been an AI video, but it might not have been an AI video of him just hanging out with some MS-13 guy. He's doing a press conference where there's literally nobody around. I don't know what he's trying to do down there. And I meant to talk about this the other day, too. This came out, I think, like a week ago. Trump promises $1 trillion defense spending budget. That's not what you promised us at the beginning of your campaign, Trump. That's not very consistent, but we'll look at it. Tulsi Gabbard releases RFK files, 50,000 never before seen files. I mean, I think we all know what happened there, but we'll take a look. We'll take a look what they're saying. Something near and dear to my place of origin. 7 corpses have been found across 3 New England states, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. So this is prompting rumors that there might be a serial killer on the loose. So we'll talk about that. And a real crazy one, a concerned parent was caught on video confronting a teacher who is just insisting on teaching their students about butt plugs. So literally on camera, this, I don't know, she looking thing is talking about how important it is to talk about butt plugs in class and how it's homophobic to say that they shouldn't be doing that. So, of course, we'll check that out because, you know, why wouldn't we? And yeah. Was named Kilmar Abrego Garcia's wife freezes on national TV when she's put on the spot. So, whole lot of drama to get into today, but how are you guys doing? I think these weeks been flying by a bit, but that's a good thing. That's a sign of having fun. So first, let's get into this White House thing. They released a whole page on the whitehouse.gov page talking about exactly what they perceive happened in 2020. I think I saw somewhere on X that like just a year ago today is when Trump was standing next to Fauci and they're talking about mask this and mask that, and how far we have come in 4 years. So let's look at this. Is this right? No, this isn't the right. Here we go. This is the right one. Lab leak. All right. From the actual White House, lab leak. The true origins of COVID-19. This just pops up out of nowhere today. The origin. The proximal origin of SARS-CoV-2 publication, which was used repeatedly by public health officials and the media to discredit the lab leak theory, was prompted by Dr. Fauci to push the preferred narrative that COVID-19 originated naturally. Nope. Oop. Go back here. That's a better one. All right. So 1, the virus poses a biological characteristic that is not found in nature. 2, data shows that all COVID-19 cases stem from a single introduction into humans. This runs contrary to previous pandemics where there were multiple spillover events. 3, Wuhan is home to China's foremost SARS research lab, which has a history of conducting gain-of-function research, gene altering, and organism supercharging at inadequate biosafety levels. Wuhan Institute of Virology researchers were sick with COVID-like symptoms in the fall of 2019, months before COVID-19 was discovered at the wet market. 5, by nearly all measures of science, if there was evidence of a natural origin, it would have already surfaced, but it hasn't. Oh, here we go. We got a nice little map showing Hunan Seafood Market and the Wuhan Institute of Virology just 7 miles away. All right, so what are they telling us there? Oh, you could even download it if you want. Oh, don't like this view. This one's better. There we go. All right. So the proximal origin publication, the proximal origin SARS-CoV-2 publication, which was used repeatedly by public health officials and the media to discredit the lab leak theory, which prompted by Dr. Fauci to push the per narrative. Yep, saw that. And gain of function. We saw gain of function. So HHS obstructions. The Biden administration, HHS, engaged in multi-year campaign of delay, confusion, and non-responsiveness in an attempt to obstruct the select subcommittee's investigation and hide evidence that could incriminate or embarrass senior public health officials. It appears that HHS even intentionally under-resourced its component that responds to legislative oversight requests. So keep in mind, can't completely let Trump off the hook for this one. Cannot let him off the hook. EcoHealth, but credit to them for letting this out there, even if it does make them look a little bit bad. EcoHealth President Dr. Peter Daszak obstructed the select subcommittee in its investigation by providing publicly available information, instructing his staff to reduce the scope and pace of productions and doctoring documents before releasing them to public. Further, Dr. Daszak provided false statements to Congress. Well, that sounds like perjury. Dr. Fauci senior advisor, Dr. David Morans, deliberately obstructed the select subcommittee's investigation, likely lied to Congress on multiple occasions, unlawfully deleted federal COVID-19 records, and shared non-public information about NIH grant processes with EcoHealth President Dr. Peter Daszak. Man, that sounds a whole lot worse than Steve Bannon just not showing up to his congressional hearing when he was subpoenaed to Congress. So they threw him in jail for that. So I wonder what's going to happen to this guy who both lied and destroyed evidence. That sounds a lot more serious than just not showing up to a hearing. New York obstruction. New York's executive chamber led presently by Governor Kathy Hochul. Oh, redacted documents, offered numerous illegitimate privilege claims, and withheld thousands of documents without an apparent legal basis to obstruct the Select Committee's investigation into former Governor Cuomo's pandemic-era failures. Ooh, the WHO. The WHO response to COVID-19 pandemic was an abject failure because it caved to pressure from the Chinese Communist Party and placed China's political interest ahead of its international duties. Further, the WHO's newest effort to solve the problems exacerbated by the COVID-19 pandemic via pandemic treaty may harm the United States. The 6 feet apart social distancing recommendation, which shut down schools and small businesses across the country, was arbitrary, and not based on science. During closed-door testimony, Dr. Fauci testified that the guidance sort of just appeared. Where did it appear from, Fauci? So we got social distancing, mask mandates. There was no conclusive evidence that the mask effectively protected Americans from COVID-19. Public health officials flip-flopped on the efficacy of masks without providing Americans scientific data, causing a massive uptick in public distrust. Just when you thought it couldn't get any higher, the distrust. The prolonged lockdowns caused immeasurable harm to not only the American economy, but also to mental and physical health of Americans, with a particularly negative effect on younger citizens. Rather than prioritizing the protection of the most vulnerable populations, federal and state government policies forced millions of Americans to forego crucial elements of a healthy and financially sound life. Again, good chunk of this was Trump. New York pandemic failures. Former New York Governor Andrew Cuomo March 25 order, which forced nursing homes to accept COVID-19 positive patients, was medical malpractice. Evidence shows that Mr. Cuomo and his administration worked to cover up the tragic aftermath of the policy decisions in an apparent effort to shield themselves from accountability. Isn't that amazing, the audacity of this guy? Like, this guy's literally running for mayor right now after both a public probably crime, 1, 2, getting ostracized by the Democrat Party. I mean, he got slightly too moderate and they just dug up the skeletons. There's clearly a pattern in New York that if you act up, if you fall out of line with whoever the people who are the decision makers in New York are, they got a long list of things they could pull up on you. Like Cuomo, look at Mayor Adams. Seems like the Democrat Party, honestly. So, misinformation. Public health officials often misled American people through conflicting messages, knee-jerk reactions, and the lack of transparency. Most egregiously, the federal government demoralized alternative treatments and disfavored narratives, such as the lab leak theory, in a shameful effort to coerce and control the American people's health decisions. When those efforts failed, the Biden administration resorted to outright censorship, coercing and colluding with the world's largest social media companies to censor all COVID-19 related dissent. Speaking of that, one story that we might have to talk about if we have time is this whistleblower from Facebook talking about how close Zuckerberg got with the CCP. Very interesting. I really went under the radar, but this lady was testifying before the Senate the other day, really tearing into Zuckerberg. Not a good look for him. And I think Zuckerberg's in straight up survival mode right now. So that is what we got for the COVID stuff. But man, I am a whole lot more interested now in whether or not they have the balls to go the extra mile and say, yeah, looks like they did this on purpose. Because still think that Event 201, is it Event 201? Yeah, Event 201 in the fall of 2019, which simulated a global pandemic, is super weird timing. But I guess we'll find that out another day. I mean, this thing right here, what came out today, this has been known. The CIA's talked about this. I mean, CIA whistleblowers have talked about this. And there's a whole barrage of reasons for them to have done this. I mean, if you look at what was going on with the economy, I'm not going to bore you with the details, but basically the repo market, the repurchase agreement market for the Federal Reserve and the banks, just shit the bed a couple months before this happened. And it was indicating there's going to be a big, giant, financial collapse or financial issues, but they got to pump a couple trillion into the economy, and that'll definitely help kick the can down the road. So what do you think, guys? This big deal, no big deal? I mean, is it earn them points for transparency? I guess if anything, I'm glad they just came out and finally said it. But, there's nothing here that we didn't already know about. But it is nice for them to come out and make it official. I'll be fair. I'll say that I appreciate that. Whatever. All right, now for the wacky stuff. Let's get right into it because there's nothing fun about watching this one, but we got to do it. And especially if you have kids, you got to be on the lookout for this because they think it's normal. All right, so right now, this is the butt plug teacher. All right, brace yourselves. Brace yourselves.
On butt plugs. And I said that I think that in high school groups where unfortunately we know that students are having sex and that I think that safe sex is always important, safe sex practices are always important, and that is that's queer sex, though that's not heteronormative sex, and then you called it disgusting. So you told me that the sex that my counterparts have is disgusting, and I don't see how that is not openly homophobic.
The reality is it's not openly homophobic because that means
To call queer sex disgusting?
that
You don't think that's homophobic?
That means
Yeah.
Family homosexual couples use butt plugs.
No, they absolutely don't.
Heterosexual couples use butt plugs as well.
Do you think that just butt plugs in general are disgusting?
so I'm saying that teaching children, minors, about this is disgusting.
Right, so I guess that comes into abstinence-only education versus safe-sex
No,
education.
it's not abstinence only. It's not safe sex. At the end of the day, a butt plug is not going to create a child. It's not going to have an issue on a person that relates to catching an STD unless the actual butt plug is not properly sanitized.
Exactly, and I think that's what that book was detailing is how to safely use those.
Butt plug sanitization.
And how to use butt plugs. Children, if you're an adult and that is what you want to do, if that's what stimulates you and gets you off, have at it. Are you a parent?
I'm not a parent.
Oh, so you're not a parent. Okay. And you are a parent.
Oh my God.
What the hell was even that?
And so as a father, 2 boys and a girl, I don't want anyone teaching my child how to use sex toys of any kind. That is.
Yeah, so I mean, I'd be in jail if I was this parent here and this was happening. Like, I don't know if this is a guy or a girl that's speaking right there. I lean towards guy because, I get confused with these things where it's like when it slightly looks like a girl, but it looks like they tried hard to be a girl, then I assume that it's a guy. But then sometimes you get a girl who tries to play a guy, so I don't know which one it is. Like, actually, you know what? I'm gonna put that in the poll. Is this a man, biological man or woman in this? Because I don't know. I don't know. I think it's like a very, very tough call to say if is this a guy or a girl. And I'm not talking about Sasquatch. I'm talking about the one that's like the main person in the video. All right, putting this poll in the chat. Man, woman. And I mean, like they're talking about sanitary butt plugs. Is there such a thing as a sanitary butt plug once, like the first time that it would ever be used? Like, could you really sanitize something like that? Like, I think that's an oxymoron. It's never sanitary after it's been used. Like, I don't care if you like boil it in rubbing alcohol. It's never going to be sanitary again. Like, don't use that word with that word. And you said, what was the term she used? She said, what was it? Like a non-sexual education? What'd she say?
Unless the actual butt plug is not properly sanitized.
Exactly, and I think that's what that book was detailing. Yes, but that comes into
couples use butt plugs as well.
Do you think that just butt plugs in general are disgusting?
I'm saying that teaching
I
children,
think you're disgusting.
minors, about this is disgusting.
Right, so I guess that comes into abstinence-only education.
And there you go, an abstinence-only education. Listen, bitch, if you're talking about you're in what? I mean, let's say this is 3rd grade, 4th grade, 5th grade. Like, when When is it okay to? I mean, even when it is time to start talking about sex in school, you don't need to talk about sex toys. All right, like same thing. Like this is like the porn discussion. Like the perception of sex and like what sex is supposed to be like and how you're supposed to act during sex is like totally what's the word, like morphed right now, like into this weird thing where people are trying to act like what they see in porn. Like what kind of sick twisted effect does it have on kids for this thing that looks like it could be a man, could be a woman, talking about fucking butt plugs like to a fourth grader? Like that should be grounds for being able to sue them. And this is, again, why teachers unions, because this person probably feels like they can't get fired because they're in a union. I can't wait till AI replaces these teachers. Man. All right, what's the poll at? What do you guys think? See, you guys don't know either. It's 57-43. Man, do we have to look this up? Let's ask Grok. All right, so how do I do this? I'm going to type into Grok. Was the person in this video a biological man or woman? I need to know now. Oh, come on. Video was posted today by libs of TikTok. Let's see, maybe if I crap. Maybe if I put the link there, it'll help. I mean, am I on an island here for want to know this? Here we go. The video in the libs of TikTok post aligns with the broader trend of parental backlash against blah, blah, blah. Yep, so we got it. It's not telling us. It's not telling us. All right, so I guess we'll have to wonder forever. So final count on the vote is 57-43. Oh, all right. I think it's man too, but not by much. I'm not confident with that. Wow, we only have 14 votes. Yeah, 133 watching, and we have 14 votes. What the hell are you guys doing? Come on. We got 129 watching now, and we have 14 votes. Come on. 15 votes. What are you guys, asleep? Show some life. Come on. I'm not going to move on until we get at least 25 votes, because this is sad. Yeah, hit the like button too. That's right, Steve. Thank you. Juana Man was ahead of his time. Physics debate. I'm about it. What do you want to call up Terrence Howard? Truth is Christ, the movie. With it, AI will just teach the same thing, exactly what they're programmed to teach by their incentivized controllers. Yeah. Well, I guess on the bright side, Elon's probably going to have the best AI, because I'm starting to think that Doge, at least part of his goal of Doge was to collect a ton of data and to, like, feed it to his AI and make the most powerful AI, because the people with the most data are able to create the best AIs. I don't know, just a thought. The DeLonga show with, oh, Lauren. That is Lauren. So me and Lauren are going to debate on physics one of these days, because Lauren thinks that we know everything there is to know about technology. She does not think that the government hides technology from us, which Lauren's very smart. She's very good at debating, but she is crazy if she doesn't think that there's technology that the government hides from us. Because I think that that's like one of the easiest things in the world to be certain about. I mean, look at freaking 9/11, for example. Look at like what the government, that's a perfect segue actually to what I was already going to talk about, that the government just flat out came out and said that they have access to time travel technology. So let me go right on over to that, Lauren, and let's see what you think of that. Where is this story? So literally, the U.S. comes out and says they could manipulate time and space. So here we go. From, what is this? Interest Engineering. And I got multiple sources too, if anybody wants to give me shit about this. So, and this ties into what I'm saying about how I think Trump had access to time travel or access to seeing the future before most people. So I'll tell you that in a second, but take a look at this. So U.S. official claims America can manipulate time and space in a bombshell tech reveal. This is 1 day ago. America just stepped into what sounds like the plot of a science fiction movie during a major science and technology conference in Texas. The Trump administration's top science official claimed that the United States now possesses technology that can manipulate time and space. What do you think about that, Lauren? And leave distance annihilated. So, like portals, basically. Michael Kratsios, director of the White House Office of Science and Technology Policy, made the striking statements on April 14 during his keynote address to the Endless Frontiers retreat in Austin. The event brought together government officials, scientists, and business leaders to discuss America's future and innovation. Kratsios said the U.S. is entering the early light of the new golden age of America, calling for a renowned national push into advanced technology. The advanced technology that they hide from us under the Invention Secrecy Act. And there's literally 20 people who've created advanced technology that have been murdered in very mysterious ways. So Kratsios did not clarify whether these claims were literal or metaphorical, but the language has already sparked intense speculation online. Pushed to revive mid-century momentum, throughout his remarks, Kratsios compared current progress to the technological leaps of the 20th century, reference to the Apollo missions, nuclear expansion, and the rise of the internet. He warned that innovation has slowed in recent decades, hindered by a regulatory system born in the 1970s. That would be called the Club of Rome Limits to Growth Initiative. If you don't know what the Club of Rome Limits to Growth Initiative is, they were freaked out because they thought the population was growing too fast, and they said, oh, shit, well, if we keep making energy cheaper and cheaper and cheaper, then there's going to be more and more and more people, and we hate people, so we can't allow our energy to get cheaper, so we have to just thwart all that. You know what? Let's make up this BS thing that says it's people who are bad for the world, so we need less people. It's gas that's bad for the world. It's oil and emissions that are bad for the world, when in reality, it's actually very good for the world. Like, what is it? What comes from oil is actually good for plants. There's more plants in the world than ever before. People try to say that like that's bad for the environment. No, it's actually very good for the environment. So glad Kratsios brought that up. I'm glad he's in that line of thinking, because they literally, like, you know, I'm not going to bring it up yet, but I've shown you the chart before that shows the amount of nuclear reactors built by year. It's like 15, 20 per year in the United States, from like the 50s to the 70s. Then boom, from the 70s to today, like 4 of them are built. So who the hell would have chose to do that? The people that want less people in the world. He says, quote, advances have not stopped, but something has gone wrong. Kratsios said he pointed to a decline in nuclear reactor development, stalled aerospace ambitions, and slower transportation systems as examples of missed opportunities. He also emphasized the importance of shifting from reliance on cheap labor and immigration to productively enhancing technologies. So replacing like the shit labor factory jobs with robots, basically. And that's what Elon talks about when he says we're going to have a universal basic income because of how cheap it's going to be to make things eventually. He says, quote, we can build in new ways that let us do more with less, he said, or we can borrow from the future. Oh, like the boomers who literally stole our future? You already did a lot of borrowing from the future. I mean, you know, I'm like almost tempted to say that, like, not that I'm a reparations person, but if there were to be reparations, the only reparations that should be taking place is freaking boomers to millennials, because they literally stole from us. The boomers literally stole from us. Like they grabbed onto $36 trillion from the future, pulled it forward to themselves, used it for bullshit, and then stuck us with the bill. Kratsios described this moment as a turning point, urging the country to escape gravity of the past few decades and re-enter an era of bold invention. National security, tech diplomacy, and a call to protect innovation. Kratsios also tied technological innovation to U.S. national security and foreign policy. He outlined a three-part strategy to protect American innovation from global competitors, particularly China, who we propped up, by the way, retardedly, by safeguarding intellectual property, securing supply chains, and enforcing export controls. Interesting. Export controls. That's a weird one. Let's circle back to that. We must restrict foreign access to sensitive data and strengthen oversight in international collaborators, he stated. You know what? Good example of that is that we literally, like, even Biden prohibited like tech from going to China, like American tech, like certain things like critical semiconductors, AI, and quantum computers. But somehow NVIDIA chips were still making their way over to China, probably because there's like a huge black market for smuggling technology China's not capable of making, and then they reverse engineer it and figure out how to do it eventually, like, which is probably the vast majority of how they've even gotten close to catching up to us, is just like stealing our stuff, copying it, and then, you know, selling it at a cheaper price to try to put our companies out of business. Like any ladies who are watching, you probably know this with the handbags. They, what is it, like Louis Vuitton's the expensive ones, they'll sell them for like $20,000, and then China will make an almost identical one, sell it for $200 in the same market. So really undercutting all of our biggest businesses here. He said, yep, we must restrict foreign access. Yep, said that. Speech reinforced the administration's America First stance on research, security, and economic competition. The strategy builds on recent policy shifts that increase scrutiny of foreign investment into the U.S. tech firms and require universities to disclose funding sources. Oh, yeah, like a shit ton of Harvard's money comes from China. I should pull that up in a second. Let me see. China money to Harvard. Harvard receipt. Oh, yep. Look, let me show you this quick. So, do you think this might influence what you get taught? Bless me and bless Harvard's soul, because I think Trump needs to rain hell upon it and, kind of figuratively burn it down and let a new, better thing rise up in the ashes of what Harvard has become. So, yeah, China, look at that, 70 million. This is 2019. So, I don't know what it's at on. This is by the U.S. Department of Education. That needs to go away. So why would China have such a vested interest in Harvard? Well, because they just want to make our young people retarded, maybe. But let's go back to the article. So, yep, require university to disclose funding sources. And I mean, interesting, that's what's disclosed. Imagine what's not disclosed. In a call to action, he urged innovators to retreat from politics. Quote, you and your fellow Americans cannot afford to give up on the nation. He said, all of us must labor to preserve the inheritance of the American century. He closed by restating his bold claim it's the choice of individuals to craft new technologies themselves, scientific discoveries that will bend time and space. All right. Closed by saying it's the choices of individuals to craft new technologies and give themselves to the scientific discoveries that will bend time and space. All right. So is that what everybody's freaking out about? Or was there something more? Because that's all they got. I got something much crazier than that. But let's see if the Daily Mail has a crazier one. This was interesting engineering. Let's see if the Daily Mail says anything different. Now it says it has achieved the ability to manipulate space and time with new technology. The Trump administration quietly revealed it has futuristic technologies that literally bend time during a speech in the golden age of American innovation. The White House director Michael declared the U.S. is currently has the ability to manipulate time and space and leave distance annihilated. Kratsios made bold statement Monday during. Yep. All right. So they're citing that one quote. Let's see. Control F. Time. Kratsios referenced this again at the end of the speech. Yep. So we saw that. Currently, there's no device publicly known that can literally manipulate time and space or make sense or make distance irrelevant. Well, let's look at this. Nikola Tesla inventions. All right. So the inventions of Tesla, alternate power systems, the development of the radio, Tesla coil, fluorescent neon. Which one was the one that they said could mess with time? Let's type in Tesla time machine. All right. While their claims and theories suggest Nikola Tesla worked on a time machine or a teleportation device, there is no concrete evidence to support the idea. Tesla is widely recognized for his contributions to electricity and wireless technology, but time travel remains a concept in science fiction. Lack of evidence, rumors, no viral sources, blah, 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 science fiction origin. But what there is confirmation of, first person to see Tesla documents. All right, so check this out. The mystery of Nikola Tesla's missing files. Oh. All right. 3 weeks after Nikola Tesla's death, an electrical engineer from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology was tasked with evaluating his papers to determine whether they contained any ideas of significant value. According to the declassified files, Dr. John G. Trump reported that his analysis showed Tesla's efforts to be primarily of speculative, philosophical, and promotional character, and said the papers did not include new, sound, workable principles or methods for realizing such results. The scientist's name undoubtedly rings a bell, as John G. Trump was the uncle of 45th President Donald John Trump. The younger brother of Trump's father, Fred, he helped design X-ray machines that greatly helped cancer patients and worked on radar research for allies during World War II. Donald Trump himself cited his uncle's credentials as often during his presidential campaign. My uncle used to tell me about nuclear before nuclear was nuclear. He once told an interviewer. At the time, FBI pointed to Dr. Trump's report as evidence that Tesla's vaunted death ray particle beam weapon did not exist outside rumors and speculation. But in fact, the U.S. government itself was split in its response to Tesla's technology. Mark Seifer, author of biography Wizard, The Life and Times of Nikola Tesla, says a group of military personnel at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, including Brigadier General L.C. Craig, had a very different opinion of Tesla ideas. Craig was the first person to ever fly a jet plane from the military, so he was like the John Glenn of the day, Seifer says. He said there's something to this particle beam weapon is real. So you have two different groups of one dismissing Tesla's invention, another group saying that there's really something to it. There's a nagging question of the missing files. When Tesla died, his estate was to go to his nephew, Sava Kosnovic, who at the time was the Yugoslav ambassador to the U.S., thanks to his familial connection with Serbia's most celebrated innovator. According to the recently classified documents, some in the FBI feared Kosnovic was trying to wrest the control of Tesla's technology in order to make such information available to the enemy, and even considered arresting him to prevent this. In 1952, a U.S. court declared Kosnovic rightful heir to his uncle's estate. Tesla's files and other materials were sent to Belgrade, Serbia, where they now reside in Nikola Tesla's museum there. But while the FBI originally recorded some 80 trunks among Tesla's effects or Tesla's files, only 60 arrived in Belgrade, Seifer says. Maybe they packed 80 into 60, but there's possibility that the government did keep missing trunks. For the 5-part history episode, all right, despite John G. Trump's dismissive assessment of Tesla's ideas, immediately after his death, the military did try to incorporate particle beam weaponry in the decades following World War II. Seifer says, notably, the inspection of death ray fueled Ronald Reagan's Strategic Defense Initiatives, or Star Wars program, in the 1980s. If the government's still using Tesla's ideas to power its technology, Seifer explains that could explain why some files related to the innovators still remain classified. All right, let me ask you something. So, what happened here was that Let me make the screen nice and big so we're all on the same page here. If Trump, or just pretend you're anybody, if the smartest man in the world dies and the FBI goes to look at his stuff because he has some technology that might be super relevant to national security, and it's in a field where very few people know about the stuff, so the FBI obviously doesn't know about it. So they go ask you, because you're a professional in this thing too, one of the very few people, and they say, hey, can you take a look at this? We want to know if any of it's important. I'm not saying all people would do this, but don't you think that some people might just keep it quiet if they see like, oh, wow, this is a good idea. This is a powerful idea. I'm definitely not going to tell them about this because they might not feel comfortable with me being alive if I say what this could do and they know that I know that. Because, imagine the craziest possible technology you could imagine. And Trump's uncle understands this. The FBI doesn't. He's reading it. What benefit is it to him to say, oh, yeah, this does this crazy thing? Like, they could kill him for that. They could be paranoid about him. They could potentially keep eyes on him forever because of the fear of him revealing that someday. So that's one side of it. The other side of it is, like, imagine the advantage that you and your family would have if, like, you're smart enough to understand this stuff but not smart enough to invent it, and then you get to be the first one to look at the notes of the smartest man in the world. Like, I see the incentive both ways of him keeping quiet. Like, one, for his protection, two, for, like, his advantage. And the way that Trump, like, yeah, sure, he could just be smart, but the way he will do things that you say, why would he do that? Like, that seemed like a really stupid thing to do. And then it works out. The way he's able to play chicken with people all the time where he calls their bluff. He seems like he knows they're going to cave. Again, could just be great business instincts, but then you have weird stuff like the life and times of Barron Trump. This one's weird. Not trying to go down some crazy rabbit hole here, but like, you're going to think I'm crazy if I don't show you each thing that people point out with this. Life of Barron Trump book. All right. Bear with me here. Bear with me. I know Lauren's hating this right now if she's watching still, but it's going to make it fun to debate. So let's see. Let's go on Amazon. This is the same one. Yeah. So in the 1890s, Ingersoll Lockwood authored a series of children's books about the escapades of his character, the young Baron Trump. Travels and adventures of little Baron Trump and his wonderful dog Bulger, and Baron Trump's marvelous underground journey. The series followed by a literary trend of the time, which had child protagonists adventuring to enchanted lands and encountering fantastic beings like the swamp. Lewis Carroll's Alice in Wonderland, Frank Baum's The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, are two famous examples of this genre. Lockwood's Baron is an aristocrat young youth bored with his life of luxury in Castle Trump. Searching for adventure, Baron travels to Russia to discover an underground world beneath his feet. He journeys downward and finds himself lost in peculiar settings surrounded by the strange inhabitants of this new world. The stories follow his adventures and eventual struggle to find his way back to the surface left behind. The Baron Trump novels were obscured by more successful children's books. Lockwood's tall tales seemed to be destined for literally dustbin, but the election of Donald Trump sparked renewed interest. I'd never read this book. Some of you guys may have read this book. Some of you may have never even heard about this, but who knows like what it means, if it's like just a coincidence, whatever. But it's very weird that in the 1890s, somebody wrote a book about a rich boy named Baron Trump that was going on adventures to Russia. So make of that what you will. There's more of these too. I think it's like a 3-part series. Yeah, Baron Trump Complete Collection. Oh, yeah, then there's this one. There's this one too. Right? So it's called this guy, Ingersoll Lockwood. By the way, it was an alias, Ingersoll Lockwood. So nobody knows who this guy actually was, which makes it even weirder. So this one's about the entire east side of New York City is in a state of uproar. Mobs of vast size are organizing under the lead of anarchists and socialists and threaten to plunder and despoil the houses of the rich who have wronged and oppressed them for so many years. The last president, this is from the book, The Last President, 1896, 1900, or The Last President by Ingersoll Lockwood, is a surrealistic 1986 novel where Americans are protesting a corrupt election process. Oh my God. What? The election process while the president's hometown of New York City is fearing the collapse of the republic after the transition to presidential power. If this reminds you of attitudes after the 26th election, when you're not alone. During 2017, this book, as well as Lockwood's two children's books, The Travel and Adventures of Little Baron Trump and His Wonderful Dog Bulger, and Baron Trump's Marvelous Underground Journey, drew attention due to its uncanny connections with the president. Like, what the fuck is this, guys? What the fuck is this? Like, it's not the first time I'm looking at this, but just like looking at it again and thinking about it, like, it gives me chills. Let's see who thinks I'm crazy. Who is weirded out by this? Is it possible Trump named him after these books? Yeah, anything's possible. I mean, yeah, Jordan, I think so too. Like, yeah, sure, the name Baron Trump, that could be a coincidence, but he's a rich kid, and they're talking about them living in New York, that he's rich. And then, like, what the hell does a kid's journey to the center of the earth to, like, fight evil creatures have to do with, like, another book in the series called The Last President? What the fuck? The Last President? And protests in New York, like, protesting the outcomes of the election? I mean, come on, guys. All right, I'm going to do it. I'm going to run a poll. Do you believe in time travel? Or is time travel real? Is time travel? Maybe no. I'm gonna put, is Trump a time traveler? That's more fun. Is Trump a time traveler? Yes. No. All right, that should be interesting. I don't know. All right, so next we'll go to, yeah. All right, so that was a fun one. Let's go to a serious one now. Let's go to this crazy Carmelo Anthony situation. This one's an annoying one. All right, so here's this child beating minister that has made this his cause all of a sudden out of nowhere.
I'm trying to find how many of y'all have asked the superintendent or one single board of trustee, why didn't you cancel or postpone? With weather in that magnitude, you couldn't have a track meet in rain or thunderstorm or clouds. Y'all are the media. Ask your journalists, your weather journalists, how the weather was that day and that time. Y'all do that research. Because as a person who is the administrator of your children,
running nose,
you are responsible for the safety of the children. And so it seems as if Frisco ISD is trying to push this off.
Who the hell are you to lecture anybody in the world? You scumbag. Like, if you don't know who this guy is, hopefully you've heard it. Hopefully the entire world knows already. This guy, Dominique Alexander, went to jail before for beating the shit out of a 2-year-old, for headbutting a woman that he was dating. And then I think there was some what was it, forgery or something in there, like some other nasty crimes, but you could just see the evil radiating off of him. So I don't know who anointed him to be the representative of the family here, why he just swooped in and started saying like hate-fueled rants. But then you got the mother here acting like she's a victim when this other kid's parents had to fucking bury their son last week. Like, again, this feels like they're trying as hard as they can to start a race war. Look.
In wake of this tragic incident, our family has been under attack. Whatever you think what happened between Carmelo and the Metcalf boys, my 3 younger children, my husband, and I didn't do anything to deserve to be threatened, harassed, and lied about. The lies and false accusations that have been said about us, especially over the past week, has been overwhelming. The lies and their amplification put my family in danger, as well as everyone in our community, everyone involved in the investigation, from the police, the attorneys, and the court staff. Our address and my husband's previous employer's address has been put on all social media platforms. My husband had to take a leave of absence because he's afraid what may happen to our family. His mental health is deteriorating day by day. We have endured death threats. My 13-year-old daughter is afraid to sleep in her own bedroom because she's fearful of what may happen to her. And let me be clear, the claims that were used about the public donation to buy a home or anything else are completely false. We have not received a single dime from the Give, Send, Go fundraiser. And the co-founder has stated that clearly. In the reality, we were just notified yesterday that we could begin to withdraw funds. And it still takes several days to receive those funds once a request is made. I don't know why we are being targeted and discriminated against before a fair trial. Our son deserves the same rights under the law that everyone is afforded to. He's been raised in a 2-parent home with structure, stability, love, and we put God first in everything that we do. We believe in the Constitution. We believe in the laws of this state, but those laws must apply to all of us, not just some of us. To be clear, we will not speak publicly about specific details of what happened under the tent on that rainy and awful day. There's an active investigation that everyone involved wants to be full and fair. We believe in legal process, and that is where the truth will come out. To the family who experienced the loss, my heart truly goes out to you. To those who have supported my family, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We ask for your continued support, patience, and prayers as we navigate this difficult process. Thank you.
All right, so it's tough to watch, and it sucks, but that's not all true, obviously. Like, how stable of a household could it be with, like, you say you put God first, and like, why is your son's like initial snap reaction to stab somebody in the heart with a knife when they feel physically challenged? Like, okay, yeah, punch him in the face, fine, whatever. You like beat the shit out of him, fine, whatever. But clearly wasn't all right there. Like, clearly wasn't a solid upbringing if the initial reaction was to stab him in the heart. So yeah, I'm sure a lot of stuff she said is true in terms of like them being harassed and being doxxed and everything. But you are not the primary victim here, lady. Like, you still have your son. He might spend a good amount of his life in jail, but like, it's nowhere near as tragic as like you being on the receiving end of having a murdered son. And then on top of that, last night, the freaking guy, his house was doxxed. Well, actually, I should even start with Metcalf Police. So you got this. Let me share this one. So first, this guy's so Metcalf's father shows up at the family press conference. The police escort him out of there. And this that minister guy who beat the shit out of a 2-year-old, he was complaining about that, saying it was disrespectful. Like, dude, like that's some serious audacity to say anything negative about a man who just had his son stabbed in the heart by the son of the family that you're representing. All right. First of all, and then this one is crazy. Metcalf's family targeted by swatting call on Thursday. So, what is this? From Fox 4. Frisco police were called to the home of 17-year-old stabbed victim Austin Metcalf's family on Thursday. Police later described the call as swatting. Metcalf was stabbed and killed by a track meet April 2nd. The family of the murder suspect, 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony, held a news conference earlier in the day on Thursday. Swatting call at home of Austin Metcalf's family. Is this the dad talking about? Is this might be right after it happened, or that might be in response last night? Let's see quick.
Well, Jeff,
I don't believe any parent should ever have to bury their child, and my son is just crushed, and I feel for him now. And
yeah, I think that's the initial interview. So Frisco police were called for a gunshot at the Metcalf family's home on Thursday. Police say officers responded to the home, but they determined there was no shooting. Frisco police called the incident a swatting, which is when a false report is made to law enforcement to prompt an emergency response. This is at least the second time that Metcalfs have been subject to a swatting incident. Frisco police say it also happened on April 8th. What we don't know, police have not said if they have any information about the caller. Jeff Metcalf asked to leave Carmelo Anthony's family press conference. Yep. So we got that. Dig deeper. The family's 17-year-old Carmelo Anthony spoke publicly for the first time since Skip Metcalf's father was at the news conference, but the Dallas Police Department arrived around 11:40 and asked him to leave. He walked out of the area with them. Jeff Metcalf told Fox 4 Casey Stiegel that he wanted to hear what was said and did not have any plans to make a statement. Dominique Alexander opened the news conference, that piece of shit, by addressing the fact that Jeff Metcalf was in attendance waiting for the news conference to begin. Quote, I want to start a press conference with something to say is a deep note that I can tell America what we seen at the beginning of this press conference, the father being at this press conference. These are my words. Don't quote anybody. Is a disrespect to the dignity of his son. Dude, who the fuck are you talking to? Like, are you, and like, I have to like just go on X right now and ask, like, what the hell is this guy's relation to anything to do with this? Like, why is he even near this? Let's see. Let's ask Grok. I haven't even looked into that yet, but why is Dominique Wilkins involved in this thing? Let me look at that. Or Dominique Wilkins. Why is Dominique Alexander? Why is Dominique Alexander involved with Carmelo Anthony family? Let me share the screen and see what Grok spits out. Because I have been wondering that, but I haven't looked into that, to be honest, yet. So let's do that right now. Let's do it live. Dominique Alexander is an activist and president of the Next Generation Action Network. Is involved with the Carmelo Anthony family as their spokesperson advocate following Carmelo's arrest for the fatal stabbing in Austin Metcalf's at Frisco, Texas track meet April 2nd, 2025. Alexander has taken a prominent role in addressing the media, organizing press conferences, and defending the Anthony family against what he describes as racist attacks, threats, and misinformation circulating online. Involvement includes public advocacy, security, and support, framing the narrative. All right. Speculation mode. this is based off of nothing that I know, nothing that I've heard, just sheer gut. So, these are sheer speculations. I want to emphasize that this is not a fact-based statement at all. But when I looked into Dominique, or I keep on to call him Dominique Wilkins. So let me show you his crime history, okay? When I looked into his crime history, he got off kind of light. So the first place my mind goes is, maybe, just maybe, he's a guy that, well-spoken, doesn't really stand for anything, like evil soul. So maybe, just maybe, he was identified as somebody who could be used in these type of situations to stir up racial tensions and create race baiting and like a race war type of things. Maybe he was given some grace and given a light punishment in return for being tapped for situations like this. So 2009 conviction for injury to a child. Alexander was convicted of causing serious bodily injury to a child in Dallas County, Texas. He served approximately 1 year in prison for this offense. Specifics of the incident, such as the victim's age or the nature of the injury, are not detailed in available records, but the conviction is classified as a felony. So 1 year for a felony. Weird. 2019 arrest for family violence. In October 2019, Alexander was arrested in Dallas for a misdemeanor family violence following an alleged assault involving a woman. Charges were later dropped. No conviction resulted from this incident. These incidents incited critiques of the question Alexander's credibility as an activist and spokesperson, particularly in high-profile cases like Carmelo Anthony. Despite this, Alexander has continued to lead NGAN and engage in public advocacy. Who funds NGAN? That is another good question that I have not looked into, but we're going to find out now. Who funds NGAN? I swear to God, if it says Soros, I'll piss my pants. I don't think it's gonna. There's no way it's gonna say Soros. Next Generation has founded by Dominique Alexander 2014, right in between these two crimes, is a 501c and 501c nonprofit organization based in Dallas, Texas, focused on social justice, education, legal advocacy. Funding primarily comes from fundraising campaigns. NGAN has established fundraising for specific cases such as covering bail and legal expenses for protesters arrested during the 2020 George Floyd protests in Dallas. These campaigns hosted platforms like GoFundMe targeted for bail, legal fees, and related costs, with initial goals starting at $5,000, increasing based on demand. Grants and donations. As a nonprofit, NGAN likely receives grants and donations from individuals, foundations, and organizations. According to a 2023 IRS Form 990, NGAN received contributions from the Tides Foundation. So this is the Soros guy. Dominique Alexander is a Soros guy. They received funds from the Tides Foundation and the Child Poverty Action Lab. Though specific amounts were not detailed in public sources, these organizations' 2020 financials indicate provided $4,000 in grants, suggesting some level of donor-funded activity. Speculated funding sources. Post on X claimed NGAN is funded by organizations like the Open Society Foundations, BlackRock, or USAID. But these claims lack verifiable evidence and appear speculative, but no public records of official NGAN statements confirm these funding sources, and such claims should be treated as inconclusive without documentation. Collaborations. NGAN legal advocacy fund works with organizations like ACLU, Civil Rights Corps, and Dallas-based groups. All right. Tides Foundation. So the Tides Foundation, that's confirmed. Lock it in. Now let's go to Tides Foundation work with Open Society. And if you don't know, if you're a rookie here, Open Society is the Soros Foundation. Well, this loads. I'm going to blow my nose because I have a little runny nose for some reason. It didn't happen all day, but I don't know what's happening now. All right. Yes, the Tides Foundation has collaborated with Open Society in the past, primarily through funding relationships and Key points include funding from OSF, Open Society. The Tides Foundation has received significant grants from OSF. For example, in 2015, OSF was reported as one of the Tides' 15 largest donors, contributing $2 million. More recently, between 2022 and 2023, Tides received $17 million from OSF. Shared goals. Both organizations support progressive causes, including social justice, racial equity, and democratic governance. Tides act as a pass-through funder and fiscal sponsor, often channeling OSF funds to smaller nonprofits projects with these goals. For instance, OSF funded the Dream Defenders project under Tides to provide services for Black, Latino, homeless, and working communities in Florida during COVID-19 pandemic. Special collabs, while direct programmatic partnerships is less explicitly documented, Tides has managed donor-advised funds and fiscally sponsored projects that align with OSF's priorities, such as civil rights, immigration reform, and human rights advocacy. And there was that whole thing with the campus protests. Let's see. 2024 campus Palestine protests. I vividly remember seeing that they had a whole map for this one. Let's see if Tides role. Tides has funded several organizations after 2020, including Jewish Voice for Peace and If Not Now, both supported by Tides, were key organizers protests at Columbia University and other campuses. JVP received $650,000 from Tides between 2017 and 2020. Tides clarified that OSF funds did not directly support JVP. OSF, however, did directly granted $875,000 to JVP in 2017 through 2022, including $255,000 in 2022 and $200,000 to If Not Now in 2021. All right, so yeah, so Tides is basically like a way for Open Society to like deny direct involvement. But wow, I felt it. I didn't know it already, but it's good to know that this piece of shit, Dominique Alexander, is basically funded by Soros because he started this nonprofit that gets a lot of money from the Tides Foundation. Do you know anything about nonprofits and NGOs that basically are agents of chaos? Tides Foundation is like the poster child for that, and then like they're famously known for being a way for Open Society to funnel money into something without being directly involved. Wow, I'm glad we got that cleared up. What do you guys think of that? I'm sure a lot of you guys already knew that, but now everybody knows it. Let's see. Let's do 2 more. Let's do all right. Should we do the Trump $1 trillion defense? Should we do Kilmar's wife? Yeah, let's do Kilmar Braga's wife, and then we could tie that in with this retarded congressman that's just floating around El Salvador right now. Here we go.
You have to ask it. You did take out a temporary order of protection against your husband in 2021. Were you in fear of your husband?
Husband is alive. That's all I can say.
Okay, as you know, I'm not going to push on that apparently. But how much hope? Have to ask it.
There you go.
Take out a temporary order of protection.
Do with that what you will. All right. And then Democrats are just so passionate about this MS-13 member who got sent back to El Salvador that one of them actually went down there, and he's fighting harder than I've ever seen him fight for any American down there. Here's a little look at that.
Margarita Gate, about what I would call Margarita Gate. I don't know if you guys have been following this, but President Bukele, after I met with Kilmar, did this tweet showing us at a table with these 2 glasses. So here's what happened. When I first sat down with Kilmar, we just had glasses of water on the table. I think maybe some coffee. And as we were talking, one of the government people came over and deposited 2 other glasses on the table with ice, and I don't know if it was salt or sugar around the top, but they look like margaritas. And if you look at the one they put in front of Kilmar, it actually had a little less liquid than the one in front of me, to try to make it look, I assume, like he drank out of it. Let me just be very clear. Neither of us touched the drinks that were in front of us. And if you want to play a little Sherlock Holmes, I'll tell you how you can know that. So if you look at the video or the picture I sent out from the beginning of our meeting, you'll see there are no glasses on the table. So you'll see in later videos, they are on the table. But they made a little mistake. For some people are very careful, right? If you sip out of one of those glasses, some of whatever it was, salt or sugar, would disappear. You would see a gap. There's no gap. Nobody drank any margaritas or sugar water or whatever it is. But this is a lesson into the lengths that President Bukele will do to deceive people about what's going on. And it's also shows the lengths that the Trump administration and the president will go to, because when he was asked about a reporter about this, he just went along for the ride. So the White House and the president have been lying about this case.
All right. This guy's a senator from Maryland, which is a disaster, by the way. Like, biggest wealth gap in America, Maryland and Virginia, like across the board, worst crime, most unaffordable housing, biggest dropout rate, biggest drug addiction rate, everything bad. And this guy's, I've never heard this guy's name before. And I'm somebody who follows politics, Chris Van Hollen, whatever. And he's just going all out for this, this El Salvadorian gang member. I mean, it was all over. That's funny. Senator meets with wrongly, look at New York Times. Senator meets with wrongly deported Maryland man in El Salvador. Like, dude, have you put in this amount of effort for a single person that actually lives in Maryland? That's what natural born says in the United States. This guy claims he broke the law, operated well outside the scope and allowance, needs to be charged immediately. Oh. Exactly. Exactly. Ha! Is that Jamel Hill? Look at this bitch. Oi. Why the hell is stupid Jamel Smith there? Jamel Hill, whatever her name is. Well done, Scott Jennings, though. I'm glad you were there. But yeah, seriously. Like, talk about a 90-10 issue, an 80-20 issue, and you'll wonder why your party's falling apart. That's funny. Oh shit! I just noticed that the video's not showing, guys. My bad. Let me show this. Thank you, Steve P. Steve P just texted me. How long's it been going on for? Here we go.
The tattoo on one of his hands was absolutely an MS-13 gang tattoo. Nothing questionable about it. 2 judges said he's an MS-13 member. ICE says he's an MS-13 member. Intelligence community says he's an MS-13 member. El Salvador says he's an MS-13 member. So, it's just ridiculous. And as far as all the people who are speaking out against this, I cannot believe for a minute there's that many stupid people in the world. Now AOC, on the smart meter, she's a 0. We'll give them that. But I can't believe these people really believe what they're saying. They got to be just pushing the narrative for political reasons. They can't be that dumb to think that that this person is an MS-13 gamer and a public safety threat.
Yeah, it's madness. It's madness. But keep doing it. Keep doing it. Like, I can't imagine this is resonating with more than like 10% of people in the country. So keep doing it. Great. It's perfect. It's awesome. Love it. I love it. Let's go with this Trump $1 trillion defense budget quick to end on a not so biased seeming vote story, because I'll call it like I see it. I will call Trump right out for this one, because like, you can't raise the defense budget to $1 trillion before you get our budget balanced. I mean, my God, if there's something that should be a bipartisan issue in the entire existence of the world, it should be the fact that the Pentagon wastes a shit ton of money. Like, it really went under the radar, but I've been following it for the past year or two. Bipartisan effort to stop price gouging the Pentagon. The defense contractors, it's like down to 4 of them now. There was like 200 of them in the 90s. Then they get consolidated after the defense spending gets cut after the Soviet Union falls. So, shrinks down to like 4 giant ones. And they price gouge the shit out of the Pentagon. All right. So why are we talking about raising the defense budget, which is already bigger than it needs to be because we're wasting a lot of that money? Why are we talking about raising it to $1 trillion, Trump? You talked about being the candidate of peace. So why do we need $1 trillion budget if you're the candidate of peace? And if we know that the Pentagon wastes more money than anybody, and you got Doge that's supposed to be fixing things like this, I don't want to hear a single thing about the Pentagon spending more money until we know that we're getting a good return on what we're spending. So I'll show you that in a second, but it's from April 8th. President Donald Trump this week unveiled plans for $1 trillion defense budget next year, a massive increase that he claimed will provide the country with unmatched military strength for years to come. During a press event, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Monday, Trump offered the outline for the total defense spending in fiscal year 2026 budget as part of his larger plans for the U.S. national security. Quote, we're going to be approving a budget, and I'm proud to say, actually, the biggest one we've ever done for the military. He said, $1 trillion. Nobody has ever seen anything like that. Yeah, and we don't fucking want anything like that, Trump, because we know we get ripped off by it already. Like, fix what we have already before you even start to think about something like this. We're getting a very powerful military. We have things under now. Blah, blah, blah. All right, so I'm 12% increase. I'm not even gonna keep. I'm not even going to keep on this one. I'm going to show you why this is bullshit in the first place. Pentagon price gouging. All right. Here we go. In 2023, how the Pentagon falls victim to price gouging by military contractors. All right. Military contractors overcharge the Pentagon on almost everything the Department of Defense buys each year. Experts told 60 Minutes over the course of a 6-month investigation into price gouging. In March, Deputy Defense Secretary Kathleen Hicks announced the largest Pentagon budget ever, $842 billion. Almost half will go to defense contractors. Retired Air Force Lieutenant General Chris Bogdan, who spent his career overseeing the purchase of some of the country's most critical weapon systems, said that there's an inherent conflict between the Pentagon and defense contractors. They are companies that have to survive, make profit. The Department of Defense, on the other hand, wants the best weapon system it can have as quickly as possible and as inexpensively as possible. Those are opposite ends of the spectrum. Perhaps no one understands this problem better than Shay Assad, now retired after 4 decades of negotiating weapons deals. In the 1990s, he was executive vice president and chief contract negotiator for defense giant Raytheon. Then he switched sides and rose to become the Department of Defense's most senior and awarded contract negotiator. He puts former colleagues in the defense industry under intense scrutiny. They need to be held accountable, he said, no matter what, no matter who they are, no matter what company it is, they need to be held accountable. And right now, the accountability system is broken in the Department of Defense. All right. So again, this is a bipartisan issue. It wasn't always like this, he said. The roots of the problem can be traced back to 1993, when the Pentagon, looking to reduce costs, urged defense companies to merge, and 51 major contractors consolidated into 5 giants. The landscape has totally changed, Assad said. In the 80s, there was intense competition amongst a number of companies, and so the government had choices. They had leverage. We have limited leverage now. The problem was compounded in the early 2000s when the Pentagon, in another cost-saving move, cut 130,000 employees whose jobs were to negotiate oversee defense contracts. Beautiful. They were convinced that they could rely on the companies to do what was in the best interest of the war fighters and the taxpayers, Assad said. There's no way that's true. They're getting kickbacks. I mean, come on. The Pentagon granted companies unprecedented leeway to monitor themselves. Instead of saving money, Assad said, the price of almost everything began to rise. Shocking. In the competitive environment before the companies consolidated, the shoulder-fired Stinger missile cost $25,000 in 1991. With Raytheon, Assad's former employee, now the sole supplier, it costs more than $400,000 to replace each missile sent to Ukraine. Even accounting for inflation, some improvements, that's a 7-fold increase. The total fucking opposite of what's supposed to happen with the natural law of economics. Like, you're supposed to be able to make things cheaper as time goes by and as the technology gets better. Like, there's a reason that flat screen TVs were $10,000 when they first came out. Today, you get them for $400 because it gets cheaper to make things over time. This is like the total freaking inverse of that. So, again, Trump, I know you understand this. So why are you doing this? Who's telling you to spend $1 trillion in defense? Why haven't we heard a peep about you making the Pentagon more efficient? That might be the most outrageous thing out of all of this. So in the competitive environment before the companies consolidated, shoulder fires, yep, I read that already. Army negotiators caught Raytheon making what they called an unacceptable profits from the Patriot missile defense system by dramatically exaggerating the costs and hours it took to build the radar and ground equipment. Yeah, they do this thing called cost plus contracts where they get the contract and then they just add a plus to it for whatever extra it costs, like in between the time of the agreement and after. I mean, how sweet is that? The company told 60 Minutes it's working to equitably resolve the matter. 2021 CEO Gregory Hayes informed investors that the company would set aside $290 million for probable liability. A Pentagon study released last month found major contractors flush with cash beyond their needs for operations or investment. They have tens of billions in excess cash from the Pentagon business to hand out to shareholders. We have to have a financially healthy defense industrial base. We all want that, Assad said, but what we don't want is get taken advantage of and hoodwinked. In 2015, Assad ordered a review of Army negotiators discovered Lockheed Martin and its subcontractor Boeing were grossly overcharging the Pentagon and U.S. allies by hundreds of millions of dollars for the Patriot 3 missiles. Pentagon analysts found the total profits approached 40%. Boeing declined to comment, but Lockheed said, quote, "We negotiate with the government in good faith on all our programs." After the review, the Pentagon negotiated a new contract with Lockheed, saving American taxpayers $550 million. Bogdan pointed to another Lockheed Martin contract with the problems. In 2012, he was tapped to take the reins on the troubled F-35 Joint Strike Fighter program. It was 7 years behind schedule and $90 billion over the original estimate. Bogdan said the biggest costs are yet to come for support and maintenance, which could end up costing taxpayers $1.3 trillion. The Pentagon had ceded control of the program to Lockheed Martin. The contractors delivering the aircraft to the Pentagon paid to design and build. But under the contract, Lockheed and its suppliers retained control of the design and repair data, proprietary information needed to fix and upgrade the plane. The weapon system belongs to the department, but the data underlying the design of the airplane does not, Bogdan said. When a part breaks, the Department of Defense can't fix or replace it itself. That's likely to come from a subcontractor like TransDigm, a fast-growing company led by Nick Hawley, who has made a fortune taking over companies that make spare parts for the military. Last year, Hawley was called before Congress a second time over accusations of price gouging. A Assad review team found the government will pay TransDigm $119 million for parts that should cost $28 million. So I could go on and on, but you get the point. You get the point. And, there's literally a bipartisan initiative for this. And look at this from February 2025. Hegseth orders 8% cut to Pentagon budget. Not so fast. Yep. Was it here that I saw? Yeah. From CBS, a bipartisan group of lawmakers is set to reintroduce a bill to rein in price gouging by military contractors. CBS News has learned. To stop price gouging, Military Act, first introduced by Elizabeth Warren and Republican John Raymond Garamendi. Yep. So don't need to get into all that, but let's see. In 2020, the Pentagon Office of Inspector General reported that roughly 20% of its ongoing investigations related to procurement fraud. So it's a disaster. It's an absolute disaster. It's rampant. And, talk about saving money. I'd feel confident saying that probably an estimated, I don't know, like 30% of our Pentagon budget or of our defense budget is total waste, fraud, or abuse. Like, you ever see the bag of screws the guy holds up and he says, yeah, this bag of screws right here, this costs us $90,000. So multiply that times every single item in the Pentagon, and that's how you get $1 trillion. So very, 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 very shocked and disappointed that Trump's come out and said this. Like, it's one thing if we know that we're getting the absolute most value and like we're really negotiating the best contracts and our budget's $800 billion, $900 billion, and we have some conflicts on the horizon, might need to bump it up a little bit. 10% would even be a lot in that case. But to do no fucking audit of the Pentagon and to not cut costs in any meaningful way, and then to propose a 12% increase, get the hell out of here, dude. What are you talking about? Like, is this just a straight demand from Netanyahu? Where's that money going to go? Like, I haven't seen anything impressive from our defense budget being so mad. I could literally show 5 hours worth of stuff on this. Like, you've seen this chart before. U.S. versus other countries' defense budget. And let me tell you something. People say this shit about China's military is getting strong. China's serious now. So help me God. If we do this and anybody's anywhere near being close to us, we should never pay taxes again. Because if this is the case versus this, nobody should be able to touch us. We should be able to assert our will in any way, no matter what it is. But we know that we're funding and building a military that was equipped to fight a war 50 years ago, and that we don't need a ton of giant battleships and what is it, like military tanks and everything. We just need a shit ton of fast, nimble, what is it, like perpetual self-powering drones. Like imagine as gay as it might sound, imagine like a fleet of solar-powered drones that just like recharge themselves and like they swarm shit. Like, you know, what's a tank gonna do against that? What's a battleship gonna do against that? Even the like F-35s, like they would have a tough time with that. And those things are cheap to build too. Like they're building them in the freaking garages in Ukraine. So this part I'm deeply disappointed with. I don't know what the hell Trump's logic is in saying this, but let's see how it plays out. I didn't hear anybody call him out for this, which is disappointing too. So I had to come out and do it. We'll see. We'll see. But guys, again, let's be positive. Let's be happy. Could be a lot worse. There's some good amount of good going on, but still a lot of bullshit going on. So just got to stay vigilant and stay unbiased and be smart. So, by the way, guys, if you enjoy what I do, if you like what I do, if you want to get closer and be part of our dope book club community, go into Circles. I'm Minnect. Join the Forbidden Book Society, and you'll have yourself a real good time with me in the group. We do a lot of cool things in there. So if you enjoy what I do, jump on over there. The link's pinned in the description. No, not pinned in the description. It's in the description, and it's also in this chat right here, pinned at the top of the chat box. So, guys, as always, much love. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend, and I will see you on Monday. Much love. Goodbye. You know, we talk about the deep state. We talk about the globalists.
Inflation versus deflation. Well, I mean,
Here at Mar-a-Lago. I'm baffled that this isn't front page news.
Do you guys support a specific political party, or do you dislike both of them?
Oh, it worked like a charm on you guys.
Let's go, Brandon.